What's up, what's up, what's up? It's your man, ChazzEllis. You know I'm back. And I'm going to give you a video right now that are for my ladies that are 25 and up, or ladies that may be a little younger in the mid-20s, early 20s, who like to date guys who are 30s and up, you know. Because this video is going to tell you about the 5 guys that you're going to date at some point in your life. You're going to date these guys if you're in your 30s and up, or these are the guys that you're going to see when they're 30 and up. Some dudes are going to hit it a little earlier, but still, you know, about 30 and up, these are going to be the 5 guys that you're going to see the most. The first guy you're going to see, and the guy you're going to see most often once you get to 30s and up, is wounded guys. A lot of guys are going to be coming out of bad relationships. They're going to be people who have been habitually in bad relationships. And a lot of them are just wounded and bitter. This isn't every guy. I'm not saying it is. I'm not saying it's even the vast majority of guys. But a lot of times when you see guys out there in the dating market, 30 and up, a lot of them are wounded, bitter, angry, frustrated, going through some things from the past. And that's going to be an uphill battle. With this type of person, they're going to be very suspicious. I already know those guys out there going, there's a bunch of wounded women too. Shut up. I'm talking about me right now. These guys are going to be very suspicious. It's going to be very difficult to make a connection with these guys a lot of times. They're going to be the type of people who are going to move kind of slow, ask a lot of questions. Sometimes they're going to come off kind of judgmental. They're going to be going through a lot of different ups and downs. And these are some of the things that you're going to have to look for. Because when you're dealing with a wounded person, it's not that you can't deal with them at all, because hey, to each their own, and everybody's gonna have some type of problems. But when you're dealing with somebody who's wounded, you just gotta understand the fact that things are probably not gonna move at a pace that you're looking for, which a lot of times can be a good thing, because sometimes the relationships need to move slower. But there's gonna be a lot of ups and downs with them as far as trust issues. They're gonna have a lot of baggage a lot of times with kids and stuff like that. But a lot of these guys really do love hard once you can crack the shell. Once you can crack that shell, there's a reason why they got wounded. So a lot of them are really hopeless romantics at heart, even though they try to hide it. A lot of them actually are like that, and they actually do have a lot of love in their heart. They just been through a lot. They've been down a few times, been lied to, been treated bad. Some stuff is their fault, some stuff isn't. But you just really got to ask yourself, can I get past some of this stuff? And will my own personal issues and trauma even allow me to deal with some of the things that they might be doing that'll trigger me? You feel me? The next guy you're going to see a lot once you get 30s and up is the underachiever. This is the habitual underachiever. Somebody who seems like they have a lot of potential and skills and things of that nature, but they don't really do much with them. They have either like some type of dead-end job, or they barely work at all. Most of the time, you're not going to date the people who barely work in your 30s and late 20s. These are people you would have probably dated. You know, these are usually going to be people who have jobs, but they're just not what you would think based on what you're seeing in front of you. The talent level the person has, the intelligence they have, you know, and just even their life in general. You're going to be like, oh, did you ever have a family? A lot of times it's going to be no. You're like, what happened? You know, there's going to be a lot of things about them that you probably say, well, dang, you know, it seemed like you got a lot going for you, but it really didn't seem like it came together. When you deal with these people, a lot of times you're going to deal with lack of motivation. You're going to deal with somebody who is defensive a lot of times about different things, a person who feels persecuted in a lot of ways, a person who might even really kind of seem borderline jealous, especially if you're achieving. I don't want you to just think everybody jealous of you, because you know, a lot of people, you doing something that's about the same level as them, and you're like, they so insecure because I'm making $1 more now. You know, but sometimes they can be a little borderline jealous. Sometimes they can be jealous of other men. That's something you're going to see a lot. If you're dealing with somebody who's doing a little bit better than them, you might see a lot of jealousy. Or you might just see complete apathy. You could be over here hugging some dude in a Bugatti, and they might not care. You know, so it could be either way. You know, they usually it's one extreme or the other. Either they're really jealous and really feeling some type of way over everything, or they just kind of like, you know, they don't care about anything. So that's something you're going to have to look at when you're dealing with somebody who's a chronic underachiever. Now, most people are like, well, why would I ever date a chronic underachiever? Well, they're underachievers at different levels. And sometimes you don't even recognize the fact that the person is a chronic or habitual underachiever just because of the fact that they're not as low because their ceiling was way higher. So some people are people who never really achieved their goals, and they're kind of, you know, they can be a little bitter, and you don't notice that at first because when you look at their life, they seem like they're cool. You know, you're like, damn, you got a nice little car, you got a nice little crib you're living in. Some people's underachieving is a lot higher than others. So you don't notice that you're dealing with somebody who feels like they've underachieved throughout their life, who feels like they could have accomplished way more, who feels like they could have done certain things. And a lot of times they're going to be very restless in the relationship. A lot of times that person's not going to really have a lot of time for you because they just haven't been able to accomplish the things they want to accomplish in life. Everybody who's underachieved isn't lazy. Some of them are, but everybody who's underachieved isn't lazy. These are just places that you're in your life. And these are some of the things that some of the ways that this can manifest as far as in their personalities. So just because you're an underachiever doesn't mean you're going to be lazy. Some underachievers are going to be really, really hardworking and goal-driven and focused, but they're not going to really be wanting to focus on you because they've not achieved their goals. So some of them are going to be really restless. They're going to be volatile, easily upset. Some of them are going to be cut off from family and friends just because the things that they wanted to have happen in their life just kind of didn't come together, at least not the way that they wanted it to. So when you're dealing with one of these people who is an underachiever, you know, you kind of got to recognize them, ask questions like, hey, are you where you want to be in life? You know, where do you see yourself in 10 years? Where'd you see yourself now 10 years ago? What did you want to be when you were growing up? Ask questions, and you can kind of find out where the person is in life as far as what they thought they were going to achieve, as far as what talent and skills that they have, and you can figure out why. You know, hey, so, you know, you haven't really achieved your goal, and it'll seem like, okay, now you can kind of look and see what their work ethic is like. So then you can figure out that they work 24/7 and they haven't achieved their goals. You know, now you're going to say, okay, well, this person's probably going to be really driven throughout our whole relationship. They're probably not going to have as much time for me. They're probably going to be volatile sometimes. They're probably going to have really good days and really bad days. So that's something I'm looking for. Okay, if I'm dealing with a person who really, you know, they don't seem like they're really trying to accomplish their goals, they're far away from where they wanted to be, well, I'm going to be dealing with somebody that's going to be lazy. They could just as easily be really lazy in our relationship also. They might not be willing to put forth any real effort, even though they do have time on their hands, you know, because when a person is an underachiever, there's going to be a lot of things. Sometimes underachievers can even fall into where they start becoming more of the wounded type, where it's not relationships and things like that that have wounded them, but it's failure that's beating them down to a point where sometimes they even have some of the same feelings of mistrust, hurt, heartbreak from just not accomplishing the goals that they wanted to accomplish. So these are things you got to kind of look for and be sensitive to, because like I said, everybody's got problems. And sometimes a person being an underachiever doesn't mean that they can't be a good boyfriend and husband and make a good relationship, because, hey, they may be an underachiever at middle management at their job, and they might explode just because they do work hard. You know, everything don't happen fast for everybody. So, you know, this is something you want to look at so you can kind of figure out, is this somebody that'll work for me, even though they have their flaws? Because the perfect person doesn't exist, and if they did, like if they're even close to that, they're probably already taken, just being real with you. This is a person you're going to deal with a lot, and you kind of figure out how to spot them. The has-been. The has-been is somebody who was popping at one time and now they're not. A lot of times they're a person who was an overachiever at one time, or at least a really, really high achiever, Sometimes it was high school, sometimes it was college. The older you get, the older they could have been popping, and now they flatlined somewhere and they kind of dropped off. This happens. This is the person that may have got the good job out of high school, working as, you know, maybe they was working in the warehouse and they was making $19 an hour straight out of high school. Then, you know, other people graduated from college, got good jobs. Now they kind of like, they could have been a star athlete in school. They could have been the first person to get a house, you know, whatever. So a lot of times they could have got all the girls back in school. They could have been him just walking out flexing on these girls. You're like, what's up, girl? You know, that kind of stuff. And girls like, oh my God. You know, getting at him and all that kind of stuff. You know, that could have happened. And now it's not happening. With this type of person, you got to look at sometimes the way that they see themselves and the way you see them are going to be real far apart, okay? A lot of times you may see them like, you asked me for change a couple weeks ago. What are you talking about? Why do you think you just really him like that? A lot of them are living in the past. You know, a lot of them are living those glory days in high school and college, and some of them still get residual effects of that. So even though they're not the man, homie, you know, what did my man 50 Cent saying that song? Damn, homie. In high school, you was the man, homie. But a lot of them, even though that's not the case anymore, they still get some of the residual effects of it. People still look up to them from high school. Not a lot of people most of the time, but some people do like, oh, snap, dog, you was the man. Oh, you know, when they see them. So sometimes they still have a lot of the self-esteem left from that. So they may not be, you know, a lot of times their feelings that they have about themselves might not match up with what you would expect from somebody in their position. They might be sweeping the floor somewhere just feeling good about themselves, you know. And you're like, dang, I thought I could get him because he was down on his luck, you know. So a lot of times there has been, some of them physically fall off. So even their physical appearance and the way that their attitude is doesn't match up at all. So that's something that happens. But a lot of times when you're dealing with a has-been, their attitude about themselves can be totally off of what you would think, what society might think. Sometimes they feel really bad about themselves though. So this is something you gotta look at with has-beens too. Sometimes they're living in the past. They're always talking about, oh man, back in the day, man, when I was shooting hoops, boy. You know what I'm saying? I used to go put it between my legs, man, dunk on them. Man, I got 50 pints on them, you know. And they just, every time they talk to new people, they gotta bring that stuff up, you know. And just like, not even like, hey, I'm just telling stories about my life, but just like they're living in that moment. They don't have any new stories to tell. Nothing happens to them on a regular basis. So those people, a lot of times, you're like, why would I date somebody who's a has-been? Well, a lot of times you don't really know. You might think, like I said, because some of them have the residual effects of what they used to be, you might think they are currently him. You get what I'm saying? You might still, like say they played in the NBA 10 years ago. They still got a little car left over from that NBA, still got a little crib left over, don't really got no money in the bank, but you can't really tell. You see him out in the club, people like, oh my God, it's so-and-so. He used to play for the Knicks. You know, so you thinking, well, dang, he must be him. And then it takes you a second to kind of figure out that what he had back in the past isn't there anymore. You get what I'm saying? A has-been can fool you because you got to remember, their game is going to be tight a lot of times because they had a lot of practice knocking them girls down when they were on top of the world. Their confidence is going to be through the roof a lot of times because they got years and years and years of, oh my God, you so handsome. Are you so-and-so? People asking them for their autograph. Whatever their level of success was, a lot of times that's going to be how high that person's going to fly for a while. They don't, just because what they have dropped off, that doesn't mean their self-esteem dropped off. You get what I'm saying? So it can fool you a lot of times into believing that they are really where they used to be. So now you just being a fan of something that happened 20 years ago and you don't even know it. So that's why you will a lot of times end up with these people because it takes you a while to even figure out that they're a has-been. So to manage a relationship with somebody that's a has-been, maybe you already in it, maybe you got kids and things like that, you got to just think, okay, most of the time has-beens do want to return to their glory days and they have been great at one time. So a lot of them can come back and be great. You just got to ask, do I have the patience to deal with this? Do they have a plan to get back up to where they used to be or even close? And can they be content in their new life? Another guy that you'll date a lot, especially when you become successful and get in successful circles, is the late bloomer. This is the person who was not popping in high school. This is the person who was not popping in college. This is the person who is really killing it now. They've made all their dreams come true. They've accomplished things. They've a lot of times made stuff that wasn't even a dream come true. You know, they just been able to make everything happen in their life as of late. And a lot of times when you meet this person, they're going to seem like the perfect person when you first meet them. But when a person is a late bloomer, a lot of times, whatever they were when they were 16, 17 years old, the little short, fat kid, you know, because now they got into their 30s, they got money, they went to the gym, they got a nutrition program, they looking good, they went to Turkey, got their hair done, you know, all of that. They on point. But a lot of times that little short, chubby, nerdy kid that was like, where my hug? A lot of times that person still lives inside of them. And most of the time, on some level, that person still lives inside of them, because it takes a lot of work and it takes a lot of time and energy. I've got guys that I work with now that they got the money, still the things that they've been through back when they didn't have money, looks, and all the stuff that they got now, you know, that it left a mark on them in a lot of ways. So when you deal with this type of person, it's going to be hard sometimes to figure it out, because a lot of times they watch all the videos and they know how to play the part and they know how to make it seem like they really just got this confidence, and you read them wrong a lot of times. A lot of times you're like, oh, this person's just arrogant and they're just this and they're that. But the reality is a lot of times they're just scared. They're scared to be treated the way that they have been treated in the past. A lot of them feel a little bitter and angry too, because they feel like, well, back in the day, this is the person that you gave all of your best years to, with all the great things you had in life. You gave it to this person, and because I hadn't bloomed yet, you didn't give me anything. I was just left in the past. So I got mine too late. Now I'm just getting what's left over from the guys who sprouted quickly. A lot of them are frustrated about that. So you're going to see bitterness that doesn't make sense considering the person that you're talking to. You're going to be like, okay, I can understand the beaten down divorce guy that I was talking to that's living in his mom's basement right now because his ex-wife took everything. Okay, I get that. But you came up here in a Bugatti. You live in a mansion. What are you mad at, bro? What are you mad at? I don't understand it. Why are you so frustrated? Why do you have this attitude towards everything? What's going on? I'm not getting it. Well, a lot of times it's because the person has bloomed late and they're going through some of the things and they're still dealing with some of the things from the past. This is where you need to kind of ask questions about their high school life. Dig deep. See, a lot of times y'all ladies will date the guy and you only interrogate them about what they can do for you. Like, you spend so much time, what is this? What's this relationship mean? Yeah. That's what you spend most of your time doing when you talk to a guy and you don't actually get to know him. You don't know his past. You don't know what he's been through. You don't know the hills and valleys that took him to where he is now. And because of that, you don't know his triggers and the things that are going to bother him. So you post pictures on the internet, ass up, dudes start getting triggered like, oh, really? So you trying to attract these Tyrones and these Chazz that you probably was dealing with in the past. Sometimes you might say certain things to the dude and he might just be like, oh, really? So you would have passed over me back in the day, and now I'm dealing with you. You got to understand there's going to be certain things that will trigger that person because they weren't always the person you're seeing in front of you. So that's something you need to think about when you deal with a new person. Ask questions. Hey, you know, who'd you go to prom with? Or what did you do when you were in high school? What was your favorite thing to do? Don't be like, oh, was you a nerd in high school? Or, oh, was you lame in high school? Was you lame in college? You know, start asking, start trying to figure out when the glow up happened. So that's going to give you an idea of where they are and where their mind is in terms of dating. Sometimes they're not going to have the experience that you think that they would have. You're like, dang, you 30 and you got M's in your pocket. So you must have been with all kind of women. Maybe not, because they didn't start getting women until they got those M's. You see what I'm saying? So when you deal with this person, you got to understand, like, okay, how do I deal with this person? How do I make sure that I navigate past some of the things that this person has been through and their triggers, things that are going to hurt their feelings? They may not be as easy. Like, don't try to force them to pursue you and stuff like that. They're probably not going to do it because they're just going to take that as a sign of rejection and feel hurt. Like I said, nobody's perfect. The guys that are even close have probably already been taken off the market, or they just don't. They don't want it. They don't want it, okay? That brings me to my next guy. This is a person that you might deal with, you know, maybe one out of every 10 guys. This is the guy who's at peace. Sometimes he got a lot of money, sometimes he doesn't. Sometimes he's kind of in the middle. Sometimes he's on top of the world with his finances. Sometimes he's the best shape. Sometimes he's not in the best shape. This is the person who is at peace. They've been through the ups and downs. They've been through life. They made a lot of decisions, good and bad, and they're actually cool with their life. Pretty much 100%. It may not make sense to you. It may make sense. It may be obvious. Like, oh, okay, you in a mansion. I get why you cool. Oh, you wrote a best-selling book. Okay, I get why you cool. You're a movie star. Well, but sometimes it's like, oh, you teach gym at the local high school. Okay. What else would you like to do in your life? No, I'm cool with that. I'm cool. I coach Little League also. I'm cool. You're like, wow. Sometimes you'll mix this person up with the underachiever. But this person has actually reached whatever enlightenment that they have in life. They are hardworking high school gym teacher. They're hardworking at coaching their teams. They really get into a relationship and they put the work in. They do the things that they need to do. And you're going to have such a great time with this type of person most of the time. The bad thing about being with somebody who's at peace a lot of times is your ass ain't at peace. It's very difficult to date somebody who's at peace when you're not, because they're going to seem a lot of times like an underachiever to you. A lot of times they're going to seem like somebody who's not ambitious enough. They're going to seem like somebody who just, because they don't care about what you care about. And a lot of times we feel like what we care about is just the most important thing in the world. So the underachiever a lot of times is going to look like the at peace guy. But some of the differences are going to be, like I was talking about before, some of the anger, frustration, bitterness, just not getting out of bed, not doing things. That's going to be the difference a lot of times. But when you're dealing with the person who's at peace, everything cool. They don't get a lot of stuff don't rattle them. They're going to seem a little nonchalant sometimes, but a lot of stuff just don't rattle them, don't bother them. Oh, well, you know, they're just at peace with life. They've been around long enough. They figured out a lot of stuff. They don't think things are that big a deal. These guys a lot of times are just really at peace, and dating them is going to be fun once you can get yourself to a certain level of peace to where you're not sweating everything, and you're not, because they're not going to let you mess up their peace. They're not going to go back and forth with you. They're not going to do a lot of arguing, because you got to remember, how would they be at peace if they just go back and forth and argue with people? Their cutoff game going to be 150. All right? They probably will stop talking to you if you get on their nerves too much, because they're at peace. So these are the people that the relationship can be great once y'all get locked in, but they're going to be real quick to be like, okay, is this going to be a situation that's going to be kind of weird? Is this going to be something that's going to cause me to lose my peace? If so, they're going to be like, psh, you'll feel like they never even liked you. So with those type of people, you really want to make sure you keep it peaceful, you keep it cool.